It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS.
There's 0 to like 300,000 is the worst. Like I'm gonna break down that 3 million. There's zero to like 250, 300,000, which is when you're generally getting off the truck or trying to displace yourself from being the labor. Whether you're mowing lawns, whether you're doing landscaping, hardscaping, whether you're pressure washing, window cleaning, there's the first couple hires you make. And the reason I like isolate that time period is, and if you're listening to this and you're like getting to that period of trying to hire like the first couple guys, this is super important. Like take this to heart, because if you don't have this mindset or understand what's about to happen, you're going to panic and you're going to hate it. But if you plan on this happening, it won't be as stressful. You just know like, yep, this is part of what happens. So when you hire that first guy, your paycheck goes away, right? Because you were the one out doing the work. And when you hire the first guy or two, they start taking your.
Now we hear that now.
So
Now we hear it.
Whoever is running the music around here is like they're the touch of knob control that they have is quite possibly the worst. They're just like But anyway, so the minute you get off that truck, you give up your paycheck because you just paid somebody else to go do the thing. And so you go from making the wage of doing the work, and maybe the business is making a little bit of profit. We usually get that confused and we think my business is making so much money, but really you're taking the wage of the business when you're the one out doing the work. So the minute you're not out doing the work and you have a guy or two out doing the work and they're the ones taking the wage, you make way less money all of a sudden. Like it has to happen. And so typically, depending on the business, like the first person you hire will end up costing you more money unless you're still out in the field and they're alongside of you. The minute you're out of the field and you're not producing any of the money, your wage gets like cut in half. So if you were taking home 40 or 50,000, you now only have like 20 to 25,000 that's left because you had to pay them a wage. And yeah, they can produce a little bit. They'll generally produce a little bit less, but you can go sell more and then hire another person. But what I see happens all the time in that like 0 to 250 range when somebody's first getting off the truck or hiring their first few helpers is they panic because they hire 2 people. Those 2 people can hardly do what they could do, and they have to pay them. And if you're paying hourly, then you're really screwed because they're not productive and you have to pay them to not be productive. Whereas if you can pay them commission style pay, that at least you can like absorb some of the risk a little easier. But you're paying them to not be as productive as you. You're trying to go sell stuff. They're screwing stuff up because they don't know all the stuff that's in your head, and you're making less money. So you're working twice as hard. You have these employees that keep screwing stuff up that you got to chase around, and you're making half as much money. And if you don't know that that's about to happen, you generally just get back on the truck because you're like, well, screw this. Why would I put myself into that scenario? And it's once you hit like 300 to 500,000 that then you have enough cushion and you can just go sell and grow the business, or you can stay out in the field if that's your thing. But now they're generating enough profit from them being out producing that they can also pay for you. So I think that's the hardest part. Now, you still hit like weird stages as you go from 400 to 500,000 to $1 million, where you delegate management of the crew out in the field. And then eventually you delegate management of the office. And then eventually you delegate the COO level position of who's running the operations. And so every time you go into another like delegation of a level of leadership, you have to learn how to lead those leaders. And that's really freaking difficult and really freaking stressful too. I think you're right at the point where you hit 3 million, you're a owner and an investor and a coach, and you're not even an operator. My businesses combined are around like 4 million today, and I'm just getting there. I'm still like helping with a lot of the bookkeeping stuff, but I literally at Business Bourbon and Bullshit that I'm at right now, that was one of my key messages was be the CEO and be the owner, but don't try to not get sucked back into being the COO, because the COO has to be the doer and make sure all the trains are running on time. And if you're here, you want to be thinking like a CEO and like be designing the business and orchestrating the business and not running out into the field to save the day. And the COO still oftentimes runs out in the field to save the day when something happens. So